Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community, especially Rita D'Angelo, Charles Transits, William Daly, Keith and Jelen Clapp. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Present.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild?
Here, via the phone.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here. Dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, summary of City of Scranton 2023 audit. 3B, minutes of the Civil Service Commission meeting held December 3rd, 2024. 3C, City of Scranton financial statements and supplementary information for year ended December 31st, 2023, as submitted by Clifton Larson Allen. 3D, City of Scranton single audit report for year ended December 31st, 2023, as submitted by Clifton Larson Allen. 3E, minutes of the Historic Architecture Review Board meeting held December 12, 2024. 3F, correspondence dated January 10th, 2025, from the Business Administration regarding a DPW budget transfer. 3G, correspondence dated January 13th, 2025, from Business Administration regarding fourth quarter PAUC unemployment insurance budget transfer.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
Just real quickly, I know that the Ice Festival is this weekend in Scranton, so I'd like to encourage everyone to come out. That's usually, they have perfect weather for it if anybody walked in here tonight, and I think it's going to even get cooler as the weekend comes, so it's usually a great time though. So encourage everyone to get out.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else?
Yes, I just want to remind everybody that City Hall and the DPW are going to be off Monday, the 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day. So both trash and the recycling are going to be one day behind.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster.
I'd like to wish two recently retired firefighters a very happy and healthy retirement. The first is Captain Paul Golden. Paul is retired with 26 years of service to our great city. Paul is known for his knowledge and dedication, as well as ensuring the new members of Local 60 are brought up to speed on not only firefighting, but preparing to set themselves for success for their futures. So we'd like to thank Paul for all you've done for our city, our department, and of course the Local 60. So enjoy your well-deserved retirement. And then there's another firefighter we'd like to recognize. We'd like to wish chauffeur Robert Warner of Engine 7 over on West Side a happy, healthy, and long retirement. Bob started his career on 8/8/1998 and assigned to D shift. He was promoted to chauffeur on 12/31/2002 and would serve time at various companies before bidding Engine 7 B shift in 2020. As a chauffeur, Bob is regarded as one of the best. His work ethic, knowledge of the city streets, and larger-than-life personality will be invaluable to anyone who had the opportunity to work with him. He will end his 27-year career, which he just did on January 10th. So I want to wish them best wishes in their retirement, and thank you very much for their service. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew, and I also thank them for their service.
I also just wanted to add, I apologize for not being there this evening as I am homesick, but I did want to thank PA Ambulance for coming in for the caucus. I have watched closely, and I appreciate their clarification on a number of the issues brought up during our previous caucus. And I noticed that there are a lot of discrepancies in what they are saying and some of the data that we've received. So I am definitely in agreement with my fellow council members and wanting to meet with them and the city in the future to discuss our partnership and maybe a potential contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. Voldenberg,
Fourth order, citizen participation.
our first on the list, Joan Holowanis.
Joan Hodawana at Scranton. I want to talk about the 3 ordinances proposing pay raises. Items 5C, D, and E. When I first saw the agenda, I was a little surprised. I thought to myself, why wasn't this addressed with the general budget? Until I checked the Home Rule Charter and found out under Article 13, Section 1304, that salaries for elected officials are handled separately, and that City Council has to approve them no later than February 1st, which is fine. So we have 3 proposed salary raises for the mayor, the tax collector, and City Council. Although I'm a little confused about City Council, I understand only 3 of you are running for office this year. Is that true?
There will be 3 terms expiring this year.
Okay, so there have to be, so the other 2 who are not running for office this year, do you have to stay with the $12,500?
That's how I read it too, Joan, but I'm not sure. We'd have to have our attorney look
That's
into that.
a question for your solicitor.
Yes.
Because it says here, compensation of any elected officials occupying these positions shall not be increased or changed in any way during their elected term of office. So they may not be getting the pay raise. But this raises 2 potential problems that I see. One is you have to separate the office from the incumbent. The office may well deserve a pay raise, but the incumbent may suck, okay? And let's face it, you know, we got to look at all these elected officials. Let's take a look at the current mayor, and I am assuming that she will run for re-election this November. I don't know whether she will. I'm assuming she's going to run. Very likely will be re-elected. I have a problem with some of her performance. I sit on the Firefighters Pension Commission, have for a couple years. Now, in March of 2022, we had 2 vacancies for the retired firefighters' positions. One was filled the following July by Don Hart. The other one has been vacant since March of 2022. And I got to tell you, we and the retirees and the union have been working hard to try to get her to fill that position. Not only has she not fulfilled it, but we have often been sitting there every month in our minutes saying, have we had an answer yet from the mayor? We sent her 3 names. Nope, no answer. You know, and it's been going on for 33 months. These are people who risk their lives for us. They have a right to know that when they apply for a pension, be it time in service or disability, that there's a full pension board, including 2 retiree positions. They're going to hear their application and vote on it. And I am sick and tired of hearing every month, well, the mayor hasn't given us an answer yet. We're trying to get hold of, you know, ESCRA. We're trying to get hold of this one. You know, the union president is trying to get hold. They're meeting together. Well, one time we only sent 2 names. Another time, well, she needs to know about how we're going to calculate the terms of the appointment. Are they going to be staggered? This is all nonsense. Poop or get off the pot is my feeling. So if the position deserves a pay raise, I support it. If you don't like the incumbent, vote the incumbent out. You've got the right to vote. Now, a couple other things. I saw part of the scaffolding came down from the outside of City Hall. When are we going to see City Hall in all of its naked glory?
The rest should, will you please stop interrupting? The rest should be coming down shortly. Everything should be down.
Okay, all right. I won't ask when they're going to open City Hall, because I know that's something that is for the future. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ronnie Ellman?
Good evening, Council. Government cannot go against the will of the people except in Scranton. A phony nonprofit declares a $300,000 four-bedroom, 2.5-bath, single-family residence as affordable low-income housing. I hope you remember this. The visiting center taxes were reduced from $1.25 million to $815,000. Then, because of some whiny crybaby, they were reduced to $250,000. Glenmora National Office Building was it was worth over $1,800,000. They got a reduction to $98,000. All this is for the wealthy in this city and county at the taxpayers' expense. These two useless, worthless elected commissioners raise taxes instead of any attempt to attack the guilty, wealthy, phony nonprofits allowed to infest this city and county. These tax cheats raise tens of millions of dollars to buy or build, but refuse to pay taxes. I know you people, this is a result of the mismanagement in this city. 33 homes lost for foreclosure. This is a heartbreak, and it goes on every month. It's non-stopping in the city. The statistics show that some of these people out here right now watching will be on this list in the near future. In my opinion, it's because of the worst mayor, the worst anti-tax-paying administration in the history of this city. Our mayor believes downtown is her Disneyland, and the rest of the city is just equivalent to a landfill, a garbage dump. If this theft of our properties keeps on, this will be 4 times this size. You remember years ago, the building across the street, there was a list for pages and pages and pages of untaxed property here. To me, this is our future, the way this city's going right now with such poor management. Right now, while you guys are sitting there, Lackawanna College announced in September in the paper they are looking for some property to purchase in the city. You guys were in favor of losing all that tax money at Geisinger's at taxpayers' expense. That's a disgrace. I don't know. As I say, I talk to 2, 3, 4 people a week, and it just looks like the greedy, corrupt administration is on top, and the taxpayers are on the bottom. Remember, this is what you people are doing to the taxpayers of this city. Month after month, it's a disgrace. Next week, I got something else to tell you about the graft and corruption that goes on right under your noses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eldon. That's all for our sign-in sheet. Anyone else wish to address council?
Good evening, Virgil Argenta. On tonight's agenda, 5C is an introduction to an ordinance amending the salary of the mayor of the city of Scranton to $95,000 a year, which is a $20,000 increase. Also on the agenda, 5D is an introduction to an ordinance to increase the salary for the position of city council to $18,000 a year, which is a $6,000 increase, give or take a few dollars. After everything the residents of the city of Scranton are dealing with, the hardships so many of our senior citizens who are struggling with every day, we have people living in streets, tents, and cars. We have over 100 homeless children in the Scranton School District. We have food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters, stressed to the max. How are the issues of raises even coming up on the agenda for tonight? Mr. Smurl, whose idea was this? Were there prior discussions to introduce these raises for tonight's agenda between all 5 council members that nobody knows about? Whose idea was it to give the mayor and city council increases in pay? Why now are you discussing any raises for any elected officials? Did you take into consideration that the mayor has 2 personal assistants and a deputy mayor before rewarding her again? Or are you rewarding her because she's stomping her feet? After last night, raising the rent for the elderly tenants on a fixed income at Park Gardens 30% because of city mismanagement, no city elected official deserves any raises. With the county raising our taxes 33% on top of a countywide reassessment, where was the mayor last night regarding Park Gardens? Why didn't she intervene? They are her handpicked board members. And before you say and you tell me that the mayor can't get involved, Mr. Smurl, with boards and decisions, she didn't have a problem involving herself. Remember with Parks and Recreations? Do you remember the slide at NAOG? She intervened then. So whose idea was it to give these raises out? Did you cave because someone is stomping their feet again? Remember, there are 3 incumbent council seats up for re-election this year, including the mayor. I understand, as usual, you'll ignore me, you'll roll your eyes, and hope I go away. Usually, in the corporate business world, you wouldn't and you don't compensate someone by giving out raises, especially to people who are costing taxpayers money and heartache. You heard Mr. Ellman, he's 90 years old. That's a sad situation. He's one of our residents. We should be taking care of our elderly. With the mismanagement decisions, and who cares less to show up at concerning issues regarding city residents, the mayor never shows up. The city has an overabundance of lawsuits, and I bet the council, as the governing body, has no clue of the number of lawsuits against the city and how costly they are to us. And I can tell you one thing, these are not slip and falls. These are serious, very costly lawsuits that we're going to be paying for. One example, as of today, the end of today, the Sorrenti Center is out for bid again. How? We already have a bid awarded. They're just waiting for a start date. If that's not bad enough, the city is also paying for another set of drawings when they already paid for a set of drawings. How does this happen? You don't reward for incompetence. For one, city council, put the residents of Scranton first. Pay attention, Mr. Smurl. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Greetings, members of council. Tom Coyne-Manuka. Tonight is simple. Why are we acting on directors not brought before this body for 30 days? The acting Park and Recreational Director started on December 16, 2024, and we have not had public information on this till last week. I understand the appointment happened just after council chose to recess for the remainder of the year on December 3rd, 2024, but council stated it continues to operate even when the sessions are not held. The appointment notice went out from the mayor, CC'd to the city solicitor, the controller, payroll, HR benefits coordinator, HR floater, the business administrator, and the person who was put in the position. Why was city council omitted from the original notice? I can already hear the excuse, well, that's an administrative action, but it's not. Though the residency requirement was struck out for all employees except a few positions, council is supposed to approve all director positions, and there is nothing that says council is exempt from the process with an acting director. An acting director is still a director. Back when Mr. King was council president and the mayor was retroactively installing directors, the excuse was made and a theory that maybe she could appoint acting directors and sidestep the process. The comment was pushed by Mr. King and the mayor. She'll just put an acting director and then proceed, but the acting director is a director still and has a 35-day limit. The game is hard and the paperwork is messed up, as I presented for you. In the resolution paperwork, director appointment on December 16th, 2024, on the cover sheet, not acting director, retroactive. The law department notice stamped December 10th to council, listed as director, not acting director. December 9th, the administrative notice lists as acting director. Was he an acting director for one day? Is he a director retroactive as noticed in notice before approval? This paperwork is obvious that the mayor is appointing directors and cloaking them as acting as a sham transaction. It seems he is the acting director and the director on the same day, according to the paperwork. Why does council constantly put its head in the sand and allow this? Next, all the raises. The mayor's slot is about 3 times the average salary for this region at $75K. At $95K, it'll be nearly 4 times. No. It should have been in a budget for a period. It shouldn't be held up now. If you want to compare region to region, I can provide areas with much lower pay, not cherry-picked ones. Allentown pays more. Good. Move there. Reading pays more. The same. Leave. We have homeless who are allocated and then robbed of $10,000, while the administration every year lines its pockets, saying that others are paid more. Good, move to the other places. From what I have seen, they're overpaid for what they do. The mayor's greed and want to increase twice what was allotted for the homeless and then rob for them is scandalous. Next, we have 2 contracts, the continued support and licensing for Rubicon and the Christmas light contract. It was bid out openly, the Christmas lights, but it seems both were approved and paid for without this body's blessing as required by code. We know what happened. Council is asking why. Regardless, what action is the body going to take? Are you going to order the mayor to appear and explain it? Are you asking for copies of the signed contract? Are you asking a controller why he would pay on a contract that was not approved by council, as that is his scope? Are you asking maybe the law department why they failed to notice council's approval was missing from a contract? This violated the city code. What is council going to do about it?
I believe if you're asking me, Mr. Schuster had asked that question, and I believe he's got an answer. He probably is going to do it. Fifth order, read the answer.
It's possible. I have to look more into the answer that I got because I'm not really satisfied with the answer I got, so I'm going to be continuing into how this got passed without coming past us.
If it's illegal, what action is council going to take? Not just find out how. How are you going to hold the bodies responsible for violating the city charter? That's in your ball game at this point as it's exposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Alan Lucas, Scranton, President of IAFF Local 60, representing the Scranton firefighters. I just wanted to touch on the proposed raise for the mayor. It's 26.5%, roughly, for her raise. My sentiment with Joan, I believe what she said is for the person, the position, not the person. I just want to talk about a few things on the labor side from what the mayor's done and treated our labor union. Over the course of 5 years, Scranton firefighters are getting a 10.5% raise. That's over 5 years, not each year. 26.5% for her, starting January 1st. The SPD got 14.5% over 4 years. So just we have 70 privates on the Scranton Fire Department, about 50%. So a private average raise over the 5 years is $8,462. Hers is $20,000. With our contract, the deductibles were raised, if you have a family, $2,000 for health care. Went from zero to $2,000. So that's $2,000 less. And next year they go up to $2,500. So if you add that math up, roughly, we made $0 in raises over 5 years if you have a family with health care. From 2022 to 2023, the superintendent of fire, who was appointed by the mayor, received a raise of $8,000. The superintendent from 2023 to 2024 got a $9,000 raise, and in 2024 to 2025, it's a $3,000 raise. In last year's tax raises that the citizens had to pay for, the mayor blamed the police and fire. She's on the record for saying it was the police and fire's fault. It's just insulting. It's insulting what the way she's treating the unions. And I believe compensation for that position should absolutely occur. But to have her on a regular basis, and these are all facts, you can read them in our contracts to see what we've gotten, and be told we're the reason for a raise of taxes. It's just insulting. So I just wanted to address it here. And also what Joan brought up about the retirees, I know you guys have been looking into that, and we do appreciate that. My membership knows, the retirees do know, so we look forward to hopefully the response you guys get from her in the administration to hopefully get this issue resolved. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Lynn Lebrowski, taxpayer, business owner, homeowner. I myself was also baffled by the agenda tonight with the raises in the salaries for certain positions. I just don't understand how a mayor who's absent could ask for an increase in salary. I mean, people stand up here week after week, and we have people that are faithful. They've been coming for years. You guys never have any answers for them. I don't know if I blame some of you or all of you, but wouldn't it be up to the mayor to give you those answers? But yet, week after week, the answers never come, and they get asked over and over again. So is it council, or is it the mayor? Or should I say the absentee mayor? I mean, our city is just flooded with studies that sometimes are meaningless, lawsuits. We have task forces that the constituents that live in this community don't have a seat at the table or a say in the matter. And I just think that this year is huge. It's a huge election year. There's a lot of positions that are up for election, and people need to get out and vote. You know, if we want to see a change in the city, then we have to vote for change. So I'm standing here as a tax-paying resident and a lifelong resident, and I'm asking every person in the city watching to get registered, consider your options, and vote wisely, pay attention to what's going on, because we have a mayor that's never available. She mismanages money, she's not accessible. When you're a small business owner in the city, and you've been for 10 years, and you provide a service to the city, and you personally invite the mayor to visit your business, and she's never darkened your doorway in 5 years, that's pretty sad. That's not a leader. That's not somebody that cares about small business or cares about Scranton or taxpayers. Because what are we gonna do? Keep running small businesses out of the city and keep taking tax off of our rolls? Who's gonna cover the increases for these salaries? Because she's not raising taxes this year, because it's an election year. And the school's not raising taxes, but there's school board positions that are up this year. So again, it's an election year. Yet the county raised the taxes because it's not an election year for them. So are they gonna wait until the election year to say, oh, we're not raising taxes? And who's gonna fund these increases in salaries next year? The constituents, the taxpayers? She's not raising taxes, but then next year when we have to fund all these raises for people, where's that coming from? We have no revenue coming into this city. We have businesses moving out. And where do we get a break? Where do we get a raise? Where do we get to get some compensation in this city? It's pretty sad. So again, I'm asking everyone listening, vote. Register to vote. Unfortunately, primaries in Pennsylvania are closed. You have to vote your party. But in the general, you could do whatever you want. So I think it's very important. We got to make it too big to rig in this city. And maybe there will be change. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lebrowski. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Did you miss me? Okay, let's get... I'd like to remind people, and I know might even get booed for it. We had 3 mayors in a row that created massive problems for this town. The last one, not so much, and I will describe them. When Mayor Connors got voted out of office, primaried, we had a mayor that just ran around handing out money every which way and depriving the police and fire of raises for years, and that built up and blew up. And I heard distasteful things like when we built the trail down there, there were some homeless people. He showed up with the chief of police and a few other individuals, and they tossed their kit bags into the river. Now, that's not good Catholic behavior, I hope, and it certainly isn't humanitarian behavior. The next guy wound up in prison. You know, he was supposed to be the reformer, to straighten things out. And the money he was collecting was petty. It wasn't worth 6 years in prison. I mean, talk about stupid. And then we had a substitute mayor for 6 months. Oh, one night I brought a mace spray in a pitcher for home defense and stuff like that. And he said, would you ever shoot anybody? I said, well, that could be arranged, crack a joke, but I don't recommend shooting people if you can run them off some other way. Because then you've got a criminal inquisition to make sure that you were in the right. And his eyeballs nearly bulged out. Another time, I watch people's faces and I see where they're coming from, you know? And the one night we had some marijuana activists in here, and I cracked a joke up here. I said I was going to say something about it, but I forgot. And, you know, he's down here yelling at me, "You shouldn't be smoking marijuana before you walk in here." I didn't say I did. I cracked a joke. So, you know, that was looking at their character. Now, getting back to, I have a little bit of disagreements with the mayor, but, you know, and I also, the streetscape deal was mostly Wayne Evans. Hospitals, there was a conference on hospitals I couldn't attend. I had some health problems. But we lose on taxes. They lost on COVID, and they're in trouble. And it's pretty serious because a lot of people can't afford to travel to Philadelphia or New York and get their insurance accepted and everything else. We depend on what's up at the top of the hill. So we better take some concern over that in the incoming year. And as far as property taxes are concerned, yes, we have too many tax exempts in the city, and what we need to do is get a committee going of regular individuals and go after the state for tax relief, because it's the Constitution. Nobody can say, "You're not coming here, go away." You cannot say that. And there's been some criticisms on crime. Well, more or less, you know, there's 2 people picked up every week, 2 or 3 people for dealing drugs and stuff. They're coming from out of the area, and I don't blame anybody for them coming. Just round them up and send them where they need to be. And eventually the jails are going to get so crowded that what the hell are we going to do then? Have a good night.
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, Scranton. Last evening, I attended a meeting with the Scranton Housing Authority regarding Park Gardens. Also present were Council Member Schuster and Council Members McAndrew. Thank you for attending. It was a very important meeting, and the burden at the end of the night was put on the people that were paying rents for several years, limited incomes, 30% raise. There was $348,000 as a deficit since the end of 2021 when they restructured their debt. There's 166 units there. There were 5 that were vacant and 1 that was not paying. Anytime you have an authority, it's supposed to be self-sustaining. The rents equal the expenditures. Because of mismanagement and the fact that they couldn't add up numbers properly, the renters have to pay and bear the brunt of the expense. Not only that, too, last evening I highly recommended that each one of them go out and take a look at these units. They have not been updated in decades. Several of them have mold in the basement, asbestos flooring, leaking windows where air comes in or out. They're not environmentally sound. And instead of tabling it for a month, taking a look at the total expenditures, taking a look at a total snapshot of the situation and the property in general, they took the easy way out. Not only that, too, their controller wasn't even there. Over 100,000 plus a year. I think they're top heavy because the people there are willing to do as little as possible, like the Geico Group, the absolute bare minimum. Well, these individuals were approved and assigned to these boards, a lot of them, just like the Scranton Housing Authority, by our mayor. along with the executive director, which has been there for a year. Everything falls on her. And one of the questions that was asked and addressed was, is everything on the table? Could Park Gardens possibly be sold? And the answer is yes. So let me be, blunt. The mayor has been careless with the truth. She put out a letter as a front just to fulfill her own destiny of pushing herself away from it when she's directly involved. Those were the people that she assigned to that board. It's shameful. These people are on fixed incomes. We're talking about 300 people that are affected at about $1,000 a person. People barely get by. They have a CD from a lawsuit that they earned in 2021. They should crack open that CD at 5%. Instead, the renters have to bear the brunt of paying 30%. If the other two of you present and the one that dials in quite often showed up, all of you would have a better understanding as to what I'm talking about. I know two of you last evening left there brokenhearted over the whole situation because it affects people. Let me talk about the pave cuts. With about a minute left. I called over to Mid-Atlantic Engineering in Pittston because I had questions. It takes about a month for them to actually get out and look at this, and then another 2 weeks for the utility to come in and actually correct it. Let's add something to that. Let me add my own perspective. If you have a pave cut that the utility did and you feel it's not up to your standards, 655-2200. Ask for Tim. He's the owner. Let's cut out the red tape. We paid them $500,000 a year. They need to earn it. And for the last 15 seconds, I'll deter the rest of my time to the crickets. Change is coming. We will make Scranton great again. Good evening, Council.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah. Number one, I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter to the administration requesting that the mayor and city business administrator and the fire chief sit down and meet with Pennsylvania Ambulance to try to work out a possible contract or to at least try to resolve whatever issues or concerns that the city has in terms of the working arrangement that we have with the PA Ambulance. We're the only community in the area that doesn't actually have a contract. So that's my motion, that we ask the mayor, city administrator, and the police chief to meet with PA Ambulance.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, the fire chief.
All right, we have a motion and a second. On the question?
On the question, so our presentation tonight was eye-opening because we've heard from two different reports. Somewhere in the middle, I guess, is the answers that we need or the truth. After listening to Pennsylvania Ambulance and realizing that we're the only municipality that doesn't have a contract with them, and our administration is leaning towards starting our own ambulance business. I mean, I couldn't even imagine the liability associated with that. But let alone what I didn't realize is if we had, say, start with 4 ambulances, 4 of them might be parked waiting in line to unload at a hospital, then what? So that was an eye-opener. I'm all in favor of this motion for this conversation to continue and get us where we need to be.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then we will, do you want a roll call vote or just a attorney Gilbride, a roll call vote or just a yea or nay? Roll call. Kathy, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, vote of 5-0. We will send a letter. Anything else, Mr. King?
With respect to the raises, I, for one, will not be receiving any raise that is recommended because I won't be here. But I will say, after being on council for 3 years, and it's been quite a long time since there has been an increase, I think it's appropriate. I don't know necessarily that the recommended increase is what it should be. I would like to get at least introduced this evening. I feel the same way about the other two positions. We're talking about positions, we're not talking about individuals. I'd like to at least introduce those and then have discussions about where they actually should be before it gets to seventh order. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
I have two comments. One, I'd like to say that, I don't know if everyone got this, but Mr. Chira, we did a citation for him for turning 100 years old. He did visit council chambers and visited council offices and left us a nice thank you letter, so thank you to Mr. Chira. The second thing I have is I did receive an answer about the NAOG light show, but I had asked several questions dating back to, I think, around Thanksgiving, and the answer that I received here and some of the earlier answers that I have don't particularly jive, so I wasn't going to comment on it tonight. It was stated that the cost would be funded through the park's capital budget, and I've had capital budgets going back to 2021, and I didn't see it included in there, so I don't want to report out on anything that may not be fully truthful, so I'll continue and I'll report on it when I get the answer that I feel is sufficient to report. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Jesse, you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I was just trying to get unmuted. I also just wanted to make a comment on the proposed raises on the agenda tonight. I know that we'll have more discussion on this, but just wanted to speak to them as a whole. I felt like when we were, going through the budget process, that the increases for employees, that I wanted to make those more in line with what was expected for those positions. In the past, we've discussed market rate, and I believe that for elected positions, that we should be taking that into consideration. And I'm, not considering this for me specifically, and it's not for the person, as was mentioned. It's for the positions and it's for the future. It's not going to take effect immediately, and that's why the charter is worded the way that it is. So, we'll continue conversations about them, but I think that they are justified, that there are raises, and I know that there are, Councilman Smurl will probably explain to all the data he has on when the raises last took place for all of those positions, the length of time that it's been, and how these numbers were created and where they came from. So that was all that I wanted to address for now, and I know I brought up earlier about where I stood on the caucus that we had tonight. And then one last thing, as was brought up during citizens' participation, like I mentioned before, I am homesick. I have 2 children in daycare. We get illnesses frequently, and I was in the hospital just the other day. So I, I would absolutely be there if I could, and I don't think anyone wants what I have. So I'm not interested in spreading illness to others, and I'm responsible person, and I also need to take care of my health too. And unfortunately, I've had a number of health issues over the years. So if I am absent, it's because I absolutely do not feel physically able to be there. But as always, I'm committed to my council position and being as present as I can be and working for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah, I have two. So with regards to Rubicon, we've been asking a lot of questions about them. We're getting piecemealed back as to how much to retain the software. But so last week I asked a question. It's the only question didn't get answered this week, how they normally get sent over. But my question was, so how was this contract approved? It didn't come before us. Was it put through the IT department without our knowledge? And there was no response. So, and it's getting ridiculous. So this year we put in our budget, as everyone knows, we have investigative power, right? We don't always use it, but we do. And we also put money into the budget to do investigations or subpoenas per se. So I don't know, Mr. or Solicitor Gilbride, if I keep getting stonewalled, I don't know if this is an avenue we should probably take. I think we should maybe remind the administration that we can take this avenue to get answers through our investigative power, for clarity's sake. Okay, if you please do that for me. Then another question, there was great discussion this year with regard to crosswalks and mandated signage. So last August, I brought it up. All right, people came to me, the principal at St. Paul's and St. Clair's, some other principals in the district came to me about, the mandated signage. And so, so last August, and here's an email that I sent December 17th. During recess, we do work, like I stated last week. And this email stated that before the start of the school new year, I received great concerns about crosswalks needed at some city schools and the mandated 15-mile-an-hour signage also needed for these school zones. I know and I'm grateful that some crosswalks were completed. I did have a conversation with Mrs. Cipriani and Mr. Gassenmeyer a few months ago at a stormwater meeting at Kaiser Valley Community Center regarding the signage. I was told then that they're going to or were in contact with PennDOT. I said to them, you just have to go on their website, because they weren't sure about how far the distance the signs have to be and so what. But guess what? It's on the website. So that was in late August. So then I was recently contacted by persons associated with St. Paul St. Clair's School, like I said, the safety committee, as a follow-up to my previous discussions. They are still awaiting mandated safe school signage that the Pennsylvania Code states that zones are to be marked, the beginning and end of each zone, not to exceed 1,600 feet at 15 miles per hour. Flashing beacon signs would also be a nice addition. So during this recent conversation with the committee members, I was told that the mayor informed them of a citywide safe school assessment being conducted with our city engineer and PennDOT. I said, well, that's great. I wasn't aware of it. I don't believe council was aware of it at all. I said, okay, what I will do is I'll find out. So I'm confused as to the assessment goal. So I sent this letter and had Mr. Voldenberg send it over that, would it be possible to get us information, because we're not aware of this citywide safe school assessment being done with PennDOT and the city engineer. First of all, I don't think it needs to be done. The mandate's clear. Just go on the website. So I sent this email, or Mr. Voldenberg forwarded it in December 17th. No response. So also during recess, I sent an email to our city engineer asking the same question. Hey, could you bring me up to speed with this so-called citywide joint effort assessment with PennDOT? that none of us are aware of. And I did not receive a response. So then, 2 days later, I called and left a message for the city engineer or the lead manager or the lead person, Mr. Menichello, and he did not return my call. But, you know, guess what? When their contract comes around, we have to approve it. That's one contract they don't slide through without us approving. So could you please follow up again and say that I would like an answer by the end of business Friday, no later than that.
I will, sir.
All right, and that is all I have. I will speak to the raises when they're introduced.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. For clarity's sake, I will ask Dr. Rothchild next week to repeat her responses because they weren't really clear. We had a hard time hearing them, and I know no one else out there heard them. So I will ask her to do that next week in her responses. The second thing is about the large tank and the project that was going in Greenridge Plaza. It was a Mr. Warren Izzy's Pizza Place in Greenridge. It is a Pennsylvania American Water Company project, and it is on private property, and really the city has no say or control any of that. So he was looking for compensation, I believe, because of his lack of business. So I did ask Mr. Voldenberg to forward that information to him and to maybe suggest to see the owners of the plaza or to speak with Pennsylvania American Water. And we did send him all the information that we received. And I will also do the information I will provide on the salaries when we get to that point. Thank you.
5B for introduction and ordinance, ratifying the establishment of a no parking zone along the easterly and westerly side of the 300 and 400 blocks of Cedar Avenue to conform with PennDOT specifications for adequate site distance.
At this time, entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question. So on the question, I did have a concern because I saw all of this area being put up as no parking signs, and I thought we were going to lose more parking there. That's not the case. The case is that the signs and everything do exist. What we are doing is bringing this back up and send the proper wordage into PennDOT so that it can be approved and nothing else has to change. So everything is in place. We just have to get the actual ordinance complete. All in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction and ordinance, amending file to council number 7 of 2013 by increasing the salary of the position of mayor to $95,000 effective January 1st, 2026.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question.
On the question, so I voted no for the past two budgets with tax increases equating to large pay increases for just a few employees. This year, I voted yes for the budget because of no tax increase, but was a little apprehensive because the same few received larger than average increases, while other employees received a far fewer increases. So in good conscience, I cannot support this large increase for the mayor's position.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. Anyone else? So I will give you an explanation on how I came to this. I'll start in 1979. The salary for the mayor and city of Scranton was $25,000. And then from 1979 to 1987, 18 years passed before there was the first raise for a mayor position in the city of Scranton. And the raise was $25,000. So that brought it up to $45,000. And they also had an annual increase of 2%, but not to exceed $50,000, which eventually it did hit that. Then from 1987 until 2013, 26 years went by, and there was no raise so for the mayor's position. And then in 2013, it was raised to a total of $75,000. So then the new increase, that would be this one. There hasn't been a mayor increase for the mayor's position in 13 years. So you've got to take into consideration the amount of time that has passed. So it seems that we go in 12, 13, 26 years, 25 years in between raises. But this is a raise, would be for the mayor that is elected. And we are only allowed to do that type of raise in the elected year, so that would mean this would be for 2026. And this is not for our current mayor. This will be for the mayor that takes that position, that's elected to that office in 2026. And that is, anyone else? All those in favor of an introduction signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed?
No.
3-2, the ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, an ordinance increasing the salary of the position of city council persons to $18,000 effective January 1st, 2026.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, when was the last time that council received?
1979, I'm sorry, that city council's was 35 years ago.
Are you sure it was 35 years ago?
1999 it was, okay.
Okay.
And
so
it was, right.
26
okay.
years.
26 years.
So if we approve an increase, it'll actually be 26 years. As I said, I will not be running for re-election. If I vote for this, I'm not voting for a raise for myself. I truly believe that there should be an increase for city council. It's long overdue. I'm not sure if 18,000 is the appropriate number, but I would like to vote to at least get it introduced and then maybe discuss it to see what the appropriate amount should be. I'm thinking maybe a little less than that, but that's why I'm going to support this.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else? So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I did compare city council salaries to other cities and townships and boroughs around our area. Wilkes-Barre, for instance, is pretty much the closest one. Wilkes-Barre City Council in 2023, their council members were paid $13,199, and their council president actually received $1,500 more. And in 2024, members of council received a 3% increase raise. That's $33 additional per month per council person, and the chairperson was increased $36.75 per month. So in the city of Wilkes-Barre, council members are considered to be city hall employees, and they're entitled to the same benefits as a city employee. So not only do they get that salary and they get raises, they are also entitled to medical coverage or a buyout on their medical coverage, and they're also entitled to be part of the pension plan. And in the city of Wilkes-Barre, their budget is basically half hours, and all of this information is available. So it's half our budget, half our population, and their salary, if you figure in their pension and their medical coverage, is way in excess of $35,000 a year. So I really don't believe that $18,000 that's proposed is really out of reach. That is with no health care coverage and no pension plan. So, and after 26 years, please, you must stop. So you will stop or you'll have to leave. So I consider this extremely conservative, with the average council salary in Pennsylvania is $29,000 to $50,000. So I don't see where that is inappropriate. And that is it. 2 years, you want to raise. Anyone else on the question?
On the question, so I feel that the joy I receive from serving the residents of Scranton is the most rewarding compensation of all. All right, so after attending the Scranton Housing Authority's past 2 meetings, seeing and hearing the anguish and uncertainty in the eyes and voices of the residents who will be receiving a 30% rent increase is disheartening. The 33% property tax increase is also a burden on our struggling residents. Again, in good conscience, I cannot vote yes for a resolution that gives me a 44% raise, while those around me are still struggling to pay their taxes and make ends meet. With that being said, I always explain my vote, and I own my vote on this.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
3 to 2, the ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction and ordinance, increasing the salary of the position of tax collector to $72,000 effective January 1st, 2026.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
On the question,
On the question, once again, I want to get this introduced. I'm not sure if the recommended raise is necessarily the amount that's appropriate, but that's why we have 3 readings, and it gives us some time to discuss, individually as a body to see if we could maybe come up with what we think is appropriate. I believe that Mr. Smurl did do some homework on this to try to find something comparable, but I just wanted to get it introduced because it definitely needs to be increased. What that increase should be, I'm not exactly sure yet.
thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else?
Yeah, so this is a unique position. I don't think it happens anywhere else in the Commonwealth, where the tax collector, the salary and expenses and services are shared by the city and the district. So the increase that we're providing is only a partial increase. It's bearable. And I also believe that this position has taken on more city duties this past year, and I'm in favor of this one. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. So when I received this request, I did research and try to figure out how to compare this position. As Mr. McAndrew said, this position really doesn't exist, and pretty much I couldn't find it anywhere in the United States. But the asking increase was $72,000, and that is approximately 2.5% per year, since the last raise for a tax collector was in 2011. Now, city pays 50% and the district pays 50%. So since we didn't have a position like this anywhere, I went to what I call the row offices in Lackawanna County row offices, the controller, the recorder of deeds, the sheriff's office, clerk of judicial records. And because this is also an elected position, I used that as a guide to see if this was actually a fair analysis and a fair request. And without any other way of really figuring this out, with the 2.5% per year and averaging the salaries that the other offices, the elected offices, received, this is basically the way I came to bring this up and to present this. And that is all I have. Anyone else?
On the question here, I will move this forward. I think there needs to be more discussion on this, and we are not the only body that decides upon this. The Scranton School Board also does. So half of the salary is paid by the Scranton School District. So I will vote yes to move this forward, but I do believe that there's more discussion to be had on the salary. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution, amending Resolution Number 6, 2024, entitled Approving the Intermunicipal Transfer of a Restaurant Liquor License Number 58619, currently owned by Calandes Cafe and Restaurante, Inc., and located at 36 Pike Street, Carbondale, Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, 18407, to Warney Dalton LLC, located at 515 Center Street, Scranton, Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, 18503, as required by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, to amend the restaurant liquor license number 2, read R7575.
At this time, entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5G for introduction, a resolution ratifying and approving an intergovernmental agreement of cooperation and memorandum of understanding between the City of Scranton and Lackawanna County for the creation of a comprehensive community violence intervention and prevention program.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5G be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5H for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of David E. Falchek, Scranton, Pennsylvania, as a member of the Board of Ethics effective September 1st, 2024. Mr. Falchek will be appointed to a 3-year term scheduled to expire August 31st, 2027.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5H be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6th order, no business at this time. 7th order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 168, 2025, appointment of Stephen Hines to the position of Parks and Recreation Director effective December 16th, 2024.
At this time, I'm chairperson for the Committee on Rules. I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question,
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that Mr. Hines' start date is effective as 1/14/2025, as it's now has an advice and consent of council.
I'll second that.
so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Well, on the question.
On the question?
On the question is, was he named acting? I think under the rules, she has the right to name acting, and then there's 35 days. So we haven't hit 35 days yet. So
This
says
is
December
for-
16th, right?
No. This is for a board
December
position.
16th.
Excuse me?
It's a board position that we appoint. It's
No,
not.
no, we're on 7A.
Oh, Jesus, I jumped it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
7A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and we did receive the letter from the mayor saying that it was an acting
Acting,
position.
right.
So, and I don't know how many days since then has gone by.
Well, December 16th, and today is January 14th.
It's not quite 30.
So are we still in the time? Attorney Gilbride, I believe then we will ask you for your advice if we are still within that time period.
Acting that the mayor has the opportunity to do, and you have a right to either say yes or no to the appointment. If you say no, she can just leave the person there anyway.
So we are following the city code with that.
Not by amending, you would actually be opening the city to a
by
lawsuit.
agreeing.
But this amendment, this ordinance itself is appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you withdraw it?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay, so let it be noted that Councilman Schuster withdrew that motion. And so we will move forward on the question. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for Adoption, Resolution Number 169, 2024, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to apply and accept a FEMA fiscal year 2024 assistance to firefighters grant.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 170, 2025, appointment of Sherry Frabel to the Board of Directors of the Lackawanna County Land Bank to fill the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2025.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, Resolution Number 171, 2025, ratifying and authorizing procurement of a bucket truck from Structural Metal Fabricators, Inc., and execution of a lease purchase agreement with Leasing 2, Inc. for said truck.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, no business at this time.
If there's no further business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.